Hello and welcome back to the Behind the Fic podcast. My name is Fate, and you are listening to the Behind the Fic podcast, a podcast that interviews fanfiction writers and asks them about the process and how they got to all these words that they've gotten to writing, which is really cool. Today I have a co-host. Recently, there's been some scheduling and tech issues, and I've been doing one-on-ones, but we've got a co-host back today. You know them. It's Owl. We love Owl. And our guest today, special guest, is someone I'm not gonna I'm gonna let them say their own name because I keep making that mistake on other episodes. Who is my guest today?
Hi, I am braidy-maidy, either Brady_maidy or Brady-maidy based on AO3 and Tumblr respectively. I am going to be talking about the first fic that I've written. I mean, I only have two, but this is the first one. It's called The Surface. It's a post-canon Skyward Sword story. A little bit about me and my Zelda obsession. It's been enduring. It's been going on for, I guess, like 15 years. Like, I don't know. I love this series, and the series has been with me for so much of my life, and like other things will come and go, but Zelda is always constant to me. So I finally, I don't know, I said my brain and body allowed me to contribute to the fandom with this story that we will talk about soon.
Yeah. And yeah, whenever you're ready, go ahead and start your reading.
All right. So, like I said, this is post-canon Skyward Sword. So the first line of this story starts off with the last line of the game.
What about you, Link? What will you do now? Zelda's question hung in the air around the two, standing atop of the statue of the goddess. Visiting the surface had been Zelda's dream since she was a child, a dream she shared with very few people of Skyloft, but Link knew all too well. Link could not resist chuckling at her inquiry. After all the hardship they had been through since arriving at the surface, Link half expected her to abandon this land. He smiled because she was still Zelda. Even after gaining memories of her past life and her 1,000-year sleep, she was still resolute and set on her goals. No fear or struggle would keep her from diving into a new life on the surface. "Can't we rest before jumping into the next thing?" Link joked. "I can't believe all you can think about is sleeping," Zelda feigned offense. Following her pretend outburst, she bowed her head and looked up at him, the same bashful look she gave him after the wing ceremony, when she suggested they should go flying together. An expression of innocence, like she was unaware of the significance of her question. Link thought back to the chatter surrounding the wing ceremony. In Skyloft, the young women fantasized about kindling a love with a new knight atop of the statue of the goddess. With Zelda assuming the role of the goddess Hylia in her and Link's graduating cohort, winning the ceremony equated knighthood with spending alone time with her on top of the statue. And here they were, alone on the statue again, with Zelda wondering if Link may be willing to abandon everything familiar to build a new life on the surface, to leave behind the rest of his friends, his possessions, his home. The answer was clear before the words left Zelda's mouth. Link would do anything for her. Since Zelda's disappearance, Link had been charging headfirst into any obstacle of danger for her safety. "I'll stay down here," he answered. "If you have room for one more, that is." Link's answer merited a laugh from Zelda, and she became progressively aware of how her heartbeat felt in her ears. They exchanged smiles, both of them taking turns looking at each other and then away, unsure of their next step. Link rubbed the back of his neck in an attempt to lower his pulse. Zelda looked down with her hands interlaced. Their tension was broken by the sound of giant feathers rustling. They both noted how out of place that noise was on the surface, and they found comfort in the vestiges of their previous life. The rustling was followed by flapping as both Link and Zelda's loft wings departed into the sky. The pair's eyes followed their birds, both consciously etching their images into their minds. Link studied the sturdy frame of his bird, the frame that held him countless times during his task to defeat Demise. His bird who he so effortlessly bonded with since he was a child. They watched them disappear into shapeless forms into the sky, staring intently even after they ascended too far to see. "Goodbye," Zelda heard Link whisper. She glanced at him, crestfallen. Loftwing served as a second half of the people of Skyloft's being, but they were no longer people of Skyloft. She looked ahead from their vantage point atop the goddess statue. She could see past the sealed temple, well into Faron woods. The peaks and troughs of hills, the different trees and shrubbery. She thought herself spoiled as she could see 2 rivers from where she stood, double the amount in the entirety of Skyloft. "Link," she started, "he will never forget you. You are just as important to him as he is to you. But a Loftwing's place is in the sky. That's where he belongs." "Yeah," Link responded. "It's weird. My whole life I was praised for my connection to that bird, and..." He trailed off. "And now he's gone," he thought to himself. All of the people of Skyloft found comfort in their feathered companions. Their Loftwings allowed them to explore the skies and to reach destinations one could never with just 2 legs. Loftwings allowed them freedom from the small rock they called home, and protection from the enemies in the sky. Link suddenly felt fragmented, like a half with no whole to claim. He knew the ache would ease with time. Maybe he could learn to feel complete. Maybe he would find something else to complete him. He looked over at Zelda, lost once more in the vastness of Faron. He stared along with her, soaking in the countless shades of green before them. Zelda breathed in the fresh air, smelled the scents of the different foliage surrounding her. She began breathing deeply out of necessity to calm herself, and she found herself savoring the smell of the surface. She attempted to discern the different sounds, and she swore her feet felt firmer on ground lower than Skyloft. After minutes of the pair looking out on the horizon, Zelda broke their silence. "I may take a page from your book," she began. "Shall we set up camp for the night?" With the loss of their birds, they staggered down the goddess statue. First Zelda with the sailcloth, then she sent it back up to Link using her divine magic, the same way she gifted Link the goddess harp. He thought back to that moment, the moment he feared he was too late for Zelda. "Did the sailcloth hold up for you all right?" Link asked, once his feet hit the ground. "Well, I'm here, aren't I?" she answered to a flustered Link. "Yes, it did," she smiled. "After all, the best seamstress in all of Skyloft made it," she continued, referring to herself. "Thank you, Link." "Well, I'll have to get creative with things you could push me off of," Link joked. They shared a laugh and headed towards the sealed temple. Once inside, Link was surprised to hear the name Zelda uttered. "Impa," she began. "She left a few provisions tucked away in a chest back here. I'll be right back." Zelda stepped in front of Link and ascended the stairs to the room in which she slept for thousands of years. Link surveyed the rest of the inside of the sealed temple, searching for the most comfortable resting spot. Link walked the perimeter of the lower level of the building. He decided on the nook of the temple where the Tree of Life stood. It had a hole to let the sun in the morning, and he believed the tree gave the space a warm atmosphere. He started towards Zelda, ready to present his evidence. "What'd you find in the chest?" he asked, climbing the stairs. "Oh!" he exclaimed upon seeing Zelda. She was wearing a different outfit. Her new white shirt was without the purplish sheen her ceremonial robes bore. Her shirt sleeve openings were larger than necessary, but tapered, moving closer to her body. She wore a navy blue skirt down to her calves, and her brown boots that she wore on Skyloft were turned to her feet. She also adorned a large cloth black belt around her waist that had a green stripe going across her torso. Lastly, she wore a red cloth headband, and her 2 strands of hair that hung in front of her pointed ears hung without ribbons. "She left behind some clothes," Zelda explained. "I'd say I can probably retire that last dress." "Oh," Link repeated. "They're great." She was always one step ahead, Zelda reminisced, with her hands clasped and head down. Link recalled Impa's departure. He did not fully consider it a death. The spot where she faded was directly behind him. "Thankfully she was," Link added. "Impa was the reason Zelda was safe. She saved Zelda from Girahim's forces when Link was too late." "I was late," he repeated internally. "Did you pick a spot to settle for the night?" she asked to break the tension. Yeah," Link responded, pointing behind him towards Zelda's right side. "I was thinking by the Tree of Life. There's a light source and, well..." He trailed off. "Mm-hmm." Zelda cheerily encouraged the ending of his thought. "I think the tree looks nice," he finished. "Definitely," Zelda agreed in a particularly relaxed voice. "Let's put some bedding down and then go out for food and water. I wouldn't mind getting to sleep before sunset." They descended the stairs together and headed towards their newly designated resting area. I'm glad you didn't choose the back room, Zelda stated. I think I got enough sleep in there. It was less than a day ago she awoke from her thousands years of sleep in order to hold the seal that contained demise. Link wondered how she was speaking of her long sleep so lightly already. He can compare the bliss he felt in the moment she woke up to very few others. Their rejoicing was cut short by Girahim's final intervention, where he stole Zelda in his attempt to revive Demise. Link shut his eyes tightly to avoid reliving the memory of Zelda's agony. Once they reached the Tree of Life, Link removed his belt along with the pouches containing the supplies he used on his journey. The items that were granted to him by Goddess Hylia shared the inexplicable property of being able to shrink and grow upon storage and use respectively. She had gifted him sleeping provisions when he pulled the infantile Master Sword from its base the first night he encountered Fi. They set out their mats near the Tree of Life, positioned parallel to each other a couple feet apart. Link would sleep closest to the tree and Zelda closest to the wall. Impa left them blankets as well. They agreed on Link retrieving water and wood, while Zelda foraged for food. They returned to the Seal Temple at sunset, to both of their dismays. They wished that they could have extra time to relax. They needed to take advantage of every minute of daylight and wake up at sunrise for the foreseeable future. Rebuilding their lives would happen quicker that way. Tonight they would satiate their hunger and thirst and go to sleep immediately after, not allowing themselves any time to conversate. They both reached this conclusion alone and silently agreed that this was the best plan. There goes your plan, Zelda. I'm sorry, Link said, coming through the back entrance of the sealed temple with bottles full of water and arms full of sticks and bark. I appreciate your sympathy, but no use in grieving, Zelda responded. Come over here. I have dinner laid out for us. Link stored the wood against the wall of the temple and approached Zelda where she was sitting. I hope you enjoy your blend of shoots, berries, and fruits I found, Zelda announced. I'm glad you found a good amount of wood. I found some eggs we can cook tomorrow, she continued. Link smiled at his dinner spread and her upbeat attitude. After they had been through and lost so much, she maintained her position of a source of comfort for Link. Also, I have our first task for tomorrow morning decided, she declared. I had to serve dinner on my belt, so we should make some dinnerware. I don't mind the belt, Link retorted, popping a berry into his mouth mischievously. They were seated face to face with Zelda's new cloth belt outstretched, facing down. They ate, commented on the food, noted and lightly debated their favorites, and went at once to lie down. Link started. I'm going to take my tunic and chainmail off so I don't alarm you. Just wanted you to know. At this point, he had already removed his boots and belt and was kneeling on his sleeping mat. Okay, Zelda replied. She brought the trunk Impa left behind closer to them, and she was rustling through it, organizing its contents. She was facing away from Link, but could see his shadow from a torch they had lit near their sleeping area. He pulled up his tunic first, gently folding it and setting it aside, then repeated the same process with his chainmail. Lastly, he removed his gloves, so he was left wearing his collared white undershirt and tan pants. Zelda could not suppress her heartbeat, picking up pace once more at the sight of his shadow undressing. She kneeled in front of the chest until Link was finished with his routine, the color red creeping onto her face and ears. He laid down on his sleeping mat, signaling his completion, and Zelda followed suit. Link extinguished the flame, they shared good nights, and that was the last they saw or heard until day broke.
Okay, I'm gonna ask my first question. The length of Link's journey in Zelda games isn't measurable, as it depends on each player. When writing fics surrounding video games, there's a bit of guesswork because of this. What led you to incorporate into your story that Link's journey took a year?
So, a couple of things, really. First, I mean, honestly, while I was writing this fic, I kind of went back and nudged the time up and down because I posted while I was writing, and I now know not to do that. But, in the game, I expect that they're 17, 18, and I know that this thought isn't representative of all 17 and 18-year-olds, but I didn't really have any idea what I was doing then. So, I just tried to nudge them up in age just a little bit, just to not write a young adult novel, but thinking of them more as adults in this situation, because we're talking about really heavy things of fate and love and free will and things like that. And also, when playing Zelda games and writing about them, more specifically writing about them, I try to keep tight with canon as much as I can. It's just really my personal preference because I just love the games as they are. And so I really only try to add things in my fics that are like, oh, like, Link needs to eat. Like, he can't just like have one red potion every like, boss battle or whatever. Like, they gotta eat and they gotta sleep. So, playing Botwa, like I think it's every second equals a minute. So I kind of took that into play, and I took my like the hours that I played Skyward Sword, like factored that into it. But just at the end of all of that, I just wanted to make a clean Link's journey. Took a year, and that's why I came to that conclusion.
Yeah, makes sense. It was something that was unique. I'd never seen it before in any other fic, so I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to ask about how you got there. So
yeah, definitely. And I just think about also just like the vastness of the surface, because we see so little of it, but I try to think that, every couple miles he had to stop and rest, and but yeah.
Yeah. Al, do you want to ask your question?
Yep. So what I found was a curious choice was removing the loft wings. I mean, it makes sense, but why specifically did you want to do that?
I think because I wanted to make their situation on the surface more dire. Like, they are, I might like write an epilogue, but as far as they know, they are for the first like half, I'm pretty sure, of my story, they are like the only two people that are on the surface. And if they had their loft wings, then they would be able to fly up to Skyloft and back. And I think I wanted to make their struggle a little more apparent. Actually, a lot more apparent. I wanted to make their struggle more apparent, and also I was really inspired by the environment of an unexplored land, an abandoned land, because they have to build it from the ground up, and so I really fixated on the aspects on like survival tactics, really, and just how much time it takes to, like, for instance, right now, we just moved into a new place, and even like painting the walls, it is an entire day to get, like, we like painted the ceiling in like one room, and it took a whole 8 hours, and then after that 8 hours you're going to be exhausted. And I mean, even camping, it's like so tough to, you just think about when your next meal is going to be. And so I really wanted to hone that in of like they're struggling, and they're struggling in their environment, and they're struggling internally as well, but their environment really really adds to that pressure and that struggle.
Yeah, makes sense.
I
I appreciated your attention to detail with that. Creating like
Thank
the
you.
realistic obstacles, like the realistic obstacles of learning, like not only living on off the earth, but like learning how to even do that. Because they grew up knowing all these luxuries.
Oh yeah. Yes, and I mean, I definitely kind of made it easy for myself, because I said that once again, like, I try to keep tight with the canon, but I'm like, okay, Fee, and I call her Fee. I know some people call her Fi.
I call her Fee too.
Yes.
I found another ally.
Perfect. Okay. But like, I'm like, okay, like, because Fee was there as this guide and she helped him through the temples, why doesn't she help him, or like also, survive? And then with Zelda, I said that with her memories of being Hylia coming back to her, she also received memories of like the earth and the creatures on it and all the things that she loved. So I definitely made myself a shortcut there, but it's not so much as they had to like learn everything, but they had to do it, which was, very hard. I've never chopped a block of wood in my life.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I don't know why, but whenever I think of chopping wood, I think of that one scene in Avengers Age of Ultron, I think, where Captain America literally just rips it open. It's like, yeah, I can't
That's
do that
Link.
either. That would be okay. Uh, my next question. I'm so glad. Anyway, I'm so glad this is being recorded because I feel like this is going to be a good question.
Good.
What do you feel you've added to the characters of Link and Zelda? And oh my gosh, I'm gonna try that again. What do you feel you've added to the characters of Link and Zelda in expanding beyond Skyward Sword, especially considering the emotional scenes you involved them in?
Yeah, so I was just reviewing my own fic before this, and I had this part where Link encounters a Kikwi while he's like still like being emo and like going through it.
We love both Link and Zelda's emo phases.
Oh, wonderful. And so like, should I provide like a little summary or anything for context?
Well, if so, basically, I mean, I guess listeners should know by now, but I guess I should have said it. So at this point, when we discuss, like, when we have our Q&A, we're talking about the whole fic. So, if you're listening to this, we're going to talk about spoilers, so you shouldn't be if you want to avoid spoilers.
True.
But if you did what you should and stopped listening after her reading and read the whole thing and then came back here, then you're good. So this is your spoiler warning. Okay, go ahead.
Wonderful. Okay. So, for instance, like Link passes by Machi, and it was after Link got stuck in the storm, and he thought of his parents, and he passed by Machi, and he's like, "Oh, hey, like, what's going on?" Like, we always see this like happy version of Link, even when he has a smile on his face, even when he's going, like diving into lava or whatever. But like, he's always chipper, and we see like Skyward Sword was monumental or groundbreaking because we got an emotional Link, and so we do see him going through some of his struggles. But a lot of the time, he'll put his head down, he'll be a little mopey, and then he'll like pick right back up and go through it again. And I mean, of course, good for him. I mean, if I could have the same,
but that's got to be damaging to only be okay on the surface level,
Absolutely, yes. Hey, the surface. But yeah, and so, I would love to have that demeanor, but I really wanted to explore more of how his journey affected him, and also I mentioned in passing that part with his parents, and so I also provided more of more dimensions to Link and Zelda, considering or when it comes to their past. So like, everybody in Skyloft is like an orphan or has like a single parent, and so I didn't expand upon everyone, but with Link, I made this headcanon that his parents were great knights, and he wanted to be this great knight with them, and he has this conflict over that of like, I am so good with the sword, and this is the only reason that I'm good at the sword is because Hylia chose me, and so really bringing in that free will aspect, which is always really interesting in talking about a video game. Like, do they have free will? I don't know. But so just adding more dimension to their past, more emotion. With Zelda, I really wanted to explore how being a goddess changed her. And in doing that, I think that the only way that I could do it is like putting her in, the group of people, putting her within Skyloft and seeing like what she's capable of and seeing what she can do, because going into this I thought of Hylia is a religious figure, and going into this I thought of like, what if the Messiah was here tomorrow? Like, what would people do? What would people want? And I feel like the majority of people would be pretty needy, or like, like me, like pick me, like listen to me, listen to my problems. And so that's really just what I plopped Zelda into. And it's not just, it's being a goddess doesn't mean just defeating the evil. It means also having to face people as a goddess.
Yeah. kind of meld what it means to be immortal and what it means to be this deity. Yeah.
Oh
It
yeah.
was definitely really interesting watching you explore that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just on the scale of the problems that they faced in the game, the Lord of Evil and everything, it I think that our everyday hardships can be like just as daunting, especially because we don't have superpowers and stuff like that, but that is what I wanted to explore, and I did.
And you did it well.
Thank you.
Are we ready for our next question? I think it's Al's turn.
So you mentioned that you did some research because they were doing survival things. What was the most surprising or interesting fact you learned during that?
It's a good question.
That is a really good question.
I picked a good co-host.
Yes, you did. What is the most surprising thing? Probably. I'm just saying filler words right now because I really have no idea. Let me
That's
think.
okay.
There were a lot of surprising things that you learned.
Yes, no, absolutely. Like, I guess I'm like, I tried to make it somewhat realistic, and Link and Zelda, they have ducks when I'm like obsessed with ducks and being able to incorporate.
I was kind of wondering where the ducks came from. I'm like,
because like ducks, they're, you have to think of like the whole food pyramid, and they can't just be eating grass. Like, they need some protein. They need a well-balanced diet, especially if Link's going to be swinging an axe around all day. And with so yes, with like you have to. I just looked at the environment in America. I'm like, okay, like what can we work with here? And I had to learn like what foods grew together. So like, lettuce and tomatoes and stuff originated in America. And I was like, yes. And I was like, okay, should they have chickens? No, chickens originated in the jungle, so they gotta have ducks. And so,
You're saying all sorts of things that I never knew.
Yeah, so no, I had to
much.
look them up. I had to look these things up as well, and just figuring out like the rudimentary tools. Like I've really like after writing this, I like really got interested in like archaeology and stuff as well. Like just ancient tools. Like Link makes Zelda like a digging stick, and it's literally you take a stick and you sharpen it on one end, and it's like. We have the luxury of shovels now, and it's just crazy to like see what the human race came from and what we're doing now.
Right? Yeah, that occurred to me too.
And and debating of whether we should return to Monkey, but yeah. So it was, I would say, just blanketed over everything. All of my research was very informative, and it really inspired a new interest in me. So there you go.
Cool. I actually wrote that question down when you said that cattails were edible. I'm like, oh, they are?
But side question. Oh wait, never mind.
Oh, sorry. No, okay, that is like a really good point, because I'm like, they need baskets. Like, like in every culture around the world, you see like jars and baskets. It's like, okay, well, I had to learn how to fire clay, and so I like looked that up because Link fires some clay, and then like, but yeah, cattails, like reeds can be used for like rope, they can be used for baskets, they can be used for so much. But yes,
I'm learning so much.
That's what I strive for.
My side question was, do you think you'll use this information in another fic?
It really depends on if it has like the survival aspect as well. Like, I think next I want to do a like a post Twilight Princess fic, but I think that one's going to be much more like dark and dramatic, so probably not. But really, I mean, if the fic calls for it, I guess, because I wouldn't want all this information to go to waste. No.
Yeah. This fixation of yours.
Yes. No, I will just go to museums.
Why would I ask that? I was about to ask where you live, but I
LOL.
I went once to New York to the big museum in New York, and it's got a lot of good stuff there.
Oh yes,
All those bones.
I love them. I love those bones.
Yes, them bones. Next question. Okay. Sorry, I have all the questions in my notes app on my computer, but then like I have other notes like in that same like notes, so like I'm looking at like these like random things I wrote down and like getting confused. Okay.
It's like the stonks, but it's organization.
Yeah, it's I have no organization. Okay, you have a
write my
very
questions at the end. Like I'll highlight questions and then I'll organize them all at the end.
There you go. Should have done that first. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. You have a very outright and honest style of writing. Do you feel like this comes naturally when you write, or was it a conscious decision on your part, or both?
Well, thank you for that. I really try to be an outright and honest person. I mean, I guess it comes naturally. I didn't even really like think about that, or I have never categorized my own writing before, but I do appreciate that. I've always found it very difficult to like I can never understand when people are like someone that they're not, or like hiding behind some sort of like mask or whatever, because I'll just wear it all on my sleeve. I'm like, I'm having a bad day today, everybody will know. I'm having a great day today, everybody will know. So I guess there's not much more of that like I can expand upon.
It comes from who you are. I think the wearing the heart on your sleeve, I guess is the way to put it. Where, there was an accessibility to the way you wrote and the way you wrote your characters, and
thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know if like this relates much, but like I like am not a very big fan of like the like will they won't they, or just like
get ready
just
for
like
my fix.
Wonderful. Well, no, it's not even the will they won't they. It's like personal drama in relationships. Cause that's just not fun for me. Like I'm married and like my husband and I are like obsessed with each other, and so like I try to channel that into it as well. Like in parts of this fake Link and Zelda are like Link's keeping like a big secret from Zelda, and that puts a strain, but then there's this huge burst, and that's when he comes out and tells her that he's in love with her. And so then going from there, like a huge like overarching theme is love and the sincerity and the power of love. So I also like I think of that every day because I'm very in love, as lame as it is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That answered my question very well. You're good, Elle.
Thank you.
What did you wish you had included, but it didn't fit the pacing?
Thinker there.
Oh, absolutely. I probably the like more character interactions. Like one thing. Oh, also going back to an earlier question of one thing I wanted to explore with Zelda is like, well, I mean, with both of them, really, just more of like their friendships. And so I had a lot of sections with, like, I had a few sections with Zelda talking to Karain, and they live next to each other, and so it's not really said in the game like that they're BFFs, but I kind of turned them into that. And so and then like interactions that don't deal with defeating the King of Evil. So like I had a blast writing Groose and Colin and Stritch and those people. I just wish that I had more time to show those friendships and show those interactions, and especially like in the last chapter, and I kind of a lot happens at once with both Link and Zelda coming back to Skyloft, and they're not just like undisgraced. And so Yeah, I think that's probably the only thing. I had a pretty clear outline of what I wanted to do, thankfully, when I was writing this.
Mm-hmm. And that
But the
really helps.
details. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I really one day, so like after I played Skyward Sword, I was racking my brain of like what I would want a post-canon story to look like. And then like I was just thinking, I was picturing Skyloft in my mind, and the island, and it's carved out of the earth, and I was like, what if that returned? And so
Right.
that was really the little baby idea that started this.
Yeah. And it was a good little seedling, and now it's a large tree. Good tree.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It grew very well, and you did a good job. All to say that you did a good job writing this fic.
Thank you.
That's the conclusion we've reached. Not that we're concluding, but yes. Al, do you have
Stamp of
another question?
approval.
Or
Just one last question, and then I'll
okay.
stop.
Go for it. That's okay.
What concept were you the most excited to share?
Like on the podcast or like writing?
Either.
Okay. Probably that seedling idea that I like just talked about. I mean, in a sense, I kind of surprised myself because with a lot of post canon stories, it'll be like the Skyloft people come down, but then that kind of, that conflicted with my idea of having them like totally isolated and struggling. So I didn't want the people of Skyloft to like be able to easily access them, because then once again it's the same thing of like Zero Loftwings. People could come down and give them supplies and or just like keep them company. I mean, in terms of Zelda when Link leaves. But I was really excited to have my own kind of unique introduction of how all of the other characters joined the story, and just that plot point of Skyloft falling and being reintegrated into the land that it once was, and then with that, extending that into there being the final prophecy, which is revealed in the final chapter. The really that part of Skyloft falling, I was really excited, and of course the love confession. You gotta.
Oh, I was
Those
so
are
looking
the
forward
ones
to
we
that.
rehearsed in our heads. Yes.
Wait, sorry, you were talking at the same time.
I'll go.
I was really looking forward to that love confession. Like, I had 5 different notes waiting for it.
Oh goodness. Thank you. I tried to make it as sincere and honestly as painful as possible.
Dang it.
And you did. Okay.
Wonderful.
So we're going to move on to the Tumblr submitted question. Everyone answered everyone. Yeah, we've got everyone in here. No, all 3 of us answered this, and our guest gets the honor of answering it first because I have that power.
Oh no.
So which one of these am I going to choose? I've got 4 options in front of me. Jeopardy music. Is that the one that goes da 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 da? Okay. What is your opinion on tropes? Are you a fan or do you avoid them like the plague? And Brady gets to answer first.
All right, give me a trope.
Whenever someone asks like a genre,
I'm trying to like
tropes are
okay, I'm like I have my
tropes are like there's only one bed, which I like.
okay.
I like that one.
Of course. I mean, it is very
there's
good.
Other ones.
Very good for the plot. I personally, in my writing, I try to shy away from tropes. And of course, I know that they have their place and they're familiar and they're everybody can relate to them, and that's why they're tropes. And but I think that in making this story like me and having my influence on the Zelda franchise with this little fan fiction, I try to keep it. I try to stay away from them. I try to be like, and I don't want to like insult tropes because like obviously they have a place, and like like the one bed trope. Like I like reading that. Like of course it's funny, it's silly, it's familiar, and I mean it's really good at catalyzing any sort of interaction between two characters.
I'm lifting and lowering my eyebrows. You can't see.
Yes, exactly. But I mean I try to avoid them. I'm trying to think of others off the top of my head, but I mean none are coming to me. But I don't know, and like I don't know if avoiding tropes makes my writing more honest and genuine or whatever, and like, I'm not putting one over the other, but I avoid them.
I think the reason that you and I can't come up with many on the spot is because we don't actively pursue them.
There you go.
I think that's the thing. Like I'm not trying to like be against anything or be against people who actively pursue tropes. Like if that helps you write, like that's basically they could serve as prompts. But I think both of us, just the way we write from a place within ourselves that comes a bit more natural. I don't know what it is. It's like we come up with things that we're excited about because they seem unique to us.
Also, like, because it's like, oh, this is like my little baby idea that's like all my own, and like, of course, it's been done before, but
like I'm sure that everything I've written has been done before by someone else, or like I'll think something is unique and okay, it's not that unique, but in the moment, I become inspired by the ideas that I think are that I come up with, that I think are unique, and I just think it just depends on. I don't know. Okay, this is coming out wrong. It just tropes are a tool to use as prompts, but then don't depend on them because they're used so much. I guess.
Yes.
So I think because because they're used so much, like the unique ideas that we have excite us more. That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh, absolutely. And like I mean I feel pride in like, making these themes and the things that happen like my own. This is like my first like I used to draw when I was younger, but I think for a while there I was in a really creative drought, and I mean years. And so it's like coming into this, I said to my husband one day, I'm like, what do you think about me writing fan fiction? And he's just like, okay, like sure.
Okay.
Like
he's in it for the long haul now. He's like,
absolutely. Yeah. And he drew me some pictures.
Are those the pictures in the fic, or are those yours?
Yes, he drew two of them, and then the last chapter I commissioned an artist. We are yes,
they're beautiful.
Thank you.
That's so cute that he drew. Oh my god!
I really took advantage of him trying to like.
It's gonna be weird to say, but you guys, I ship it. I mean, you know you're married, but
I hope you do. No, but
you guys are so cute.
Thank you. I took advantage of him.
I'm so lonely. You're giving me hope.
Yes, I'm like we found each other online, and it can happen to anyone. But no, like he said that he wanted to draw like every day this year, and I mean, he hasn't kept up completely, but I'm like, can you do this for me? Like, nudging an idea over to him. But now I'm like talking about him. What was I even saying? But okay, so yes, I was in a creative drought for a while, and then this like I didn't want to use any sort of crutch, really. I didn't want to take an idea that I've seen before and make my own version of it, and I wanted my own version of my story.
Right.
Mm.
And then, I mean, I already kind of started to answer it, but I don't really avoid them. I just like if I use one, it's by accident because I have no idea what they are. And I think fic writers, we like to think that our ideas are unique, so we like to let us live in that illusion for a bit.
Yes, because we're writing about something that is not unique.
All
it's
our
not even
own.
ours.
Yes, exactly.
Al, what is your opinion? How would you answer this question?
Personally, I really like reading tropes. Not that I can identify many, but I don't really plan what I'm doing ever. So I don't end up using tropes often, if at all.
Okay, makes sense. Good answers. I'm glad they're being recorded. I'm like subtly shading myself for how dare I.
Craig is still here. All is well.
I keep checking. Okay. My last little question before we come to a close is to our wonderful guest Brady, and this is your plug time. So, what can you say about your current works in progress, and what would you like to promote?
Wonderful. Well, I only have 2 works. One is in progress. One is this. And so my current work in progress, I think like coming into the fandom for me was like, I mean, it was a culture shock in a sense, because I didn't know like the I guess emphasis on AUs, and like I am like I want to like discuss Zelda lore, like like to the book, pretty much. Like
I've found a friend.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't really get into the AUs, and I love the lore.
Yes,
I
I
found a
just
friend.
and I'm not saying that I'm not telling people how to enjoy things, but this is how I enjoy things.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There's nothing against AUs. I've written a couple. Just like if I'm gonna choose between AU and canon, it's canon all the way.
Yes, and I mean, and I guess like this is me showing respect to the source material, or like we bowing to my shrine of Shigeru Miyamoto in the clock.
Yeah.
I don't know, no, but like, like what? No, it's like his birthday yesterday. But
oh yeah, it was.
So
he's a lot older than I thought. Like, I mean, whenever I say him, he looks like youthful because he's so happy, but he is like 69 or 70.
Yes,
I'm like, look at you, age. Don't die. You're immortal.
I know. Well, I mean, he didn't even touch Botwa, but I mean, yes, he should be immortal though. But yeah, so I really like, I'm like the by the book, like canon, and like if it's like, so yeah, so coming into the fandom, like I was introduced to all the AUs and things, and so I think that my purpose as a writer and as a Zelda fic writer, because I know that I'm never going to write about anything else, because I don't know, I have only one brain cell, and that brain cell belongs to Zelda. And
wait. You have 2 brain cells. One belongs to Zelda and one belongs to your husband because you love him so much.
Oh. Yes, absolutely. And one belongs to my dog, so that's got to fit in there somehow. But so I try to fill in the gaps that we didn't see in the games in my writing. And so so Skyward Sword, I kind of delved into, in the surface, I kind of delved into the past in Skyward Sword, like Link and Zelda, with the opening of the game, they're like friends and they're like totally in love, but like how? Like, and so I just try to fill in those gaps and then the gap of like what happens after. But my current work is like the lost memories from Breath of the Wild, where I'm writing it like exactly like the vignettes in the captured memories in the Sheikah slate, and so it's like very like surface level. It's just like what motions they're doing. It's nothing. I don't really have any like flowery language in it.
Right.
I just or like what they're thinking or feeling. It's really just like based off of like body language and and like, you know, because like looking at the like I still see things sort of like people even find 4 years after the game's release. It's like I saw something recently about when Link is in meets with Urbosa in Va Naboris, and Zelda's asleep on her shoulder, and when Urbosa tucks her hair behind her ears, her ear twitches. And so I'm really trying to like hone in on the subtlety of and like, not that ear twitch means anything in that, but that's just like one thing in context. But I'm really trying to hone in on the subtlety of the glances and the motions and like, you know, because as much as we want Link and Zelda to just full on like just sloppy make out in Botwa, like they don't. And so
did you have to call me out like that?
I mean, me too. But like they don't do that, and that's you know, we don't see it on screen, and so I just, me and my like traditionalist mindset, I'm trying to fill in the gaps of Link and Zelda. You know, Zelda's expanding more upon her insecurity, but then finding this friend in Link, and like some of the one shot like vignettes I have are like directly preceding or proceeding something that happened in the game, or like a memory in the game. And but yes, it's called Moments Forgotten. It's on my AO3. I'm like I still have like the back and forth in my head, like should I have called it Forgotten Moments, like but no. But like, yes, it's called
Moments Forgotten. It's
okay, good, because like the memories are called captured memories. So but yes, like just filling those blanks. I'm trying to keep the characters like as in character as possible. So like, you know, starting off with Zelda being just kind of like passive to Link, and then her getting more angry, but then her like her awkwardness and approaching him, and like she wrote in her diary of like, you know, I don't know how to describe, like I don't have words to describe what happened today. And so just her awkwardness and becoming friends with Link, and then their friendship from there. Right. So yeah, and I've like watched like my most viewed thing on YouTube now is probably like the Botwa all memories like coming together, because like you know, with my research with like the survival tactics, I also like do like really hard research like of the source material, and by hard research I mean playing the game or watching the cutscenes.
Right.
Dedication.
Yes, but yeah, it's a series of one shots. It's I guess I'm trying to make it around the number of memories in Botwa. Like there's 18, and I have 11 out of maybe 18 now in that series. Very short stories. It's like, I think my longest one is only like 1,000 words long, because I'm just trying to be exactly like the memories. But yeah, I think Link and Zelda are friends now, so if you start reading it, it won't be super angsty. Well, as in the angst will subside.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put that in the links in the description below, and I will also put the link to the Surface and the link to your information, Brady, your AO3, your Tumblr, as well as my information and Al's information. And
Perfect.
the information of everyone involved in the production of this podcast, which is also amazing artists and people and
And
Yeah.
Craig.
And Craig,
Craig,
the
our beloved.
MVP.
Shouts out.
So we're gonna end off next week. We're going to have Silver on and Ishi they. I don't know which one it is, but it's one of those. So I said all of them. It. I don't know. Don't make your pronoun it. It's just really you're a scary clown. I don't like horror movies. Anyway, Sleepless Nights and Starlight. It'll be interesting. It'll be good. It'll be magical. But until then, we're gonna say goodbye.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I know I've told you this before, like over Discord, but like, what a wonderful way to just, we take time and put effort into these projects, and it's just like so great to be able to talk about it in like this like contained environment like this. So I really appreciate you having me on. I'm glad that this day finally came because I think I signed up like 6 months ago. So
yeah. Hey, there's still people who haven't recorded yet who have to wait another they have to wait till February 2022.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome.
And I guess I will say bye to the audience now. Goodbye.